अल्लाहु अकबर अल्लाहु अकबर अल्लाहु अकबर अल्लाहु अकबर अशहदु अन ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह अशहदु अन ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह अशहदु अन्ना मुहम्मदर रसूलुल्लाह अशहदु अन्ना मुहम्मदर रसूलुल्लाह हय्या अलस सलाह हय्या अलस सलाह हय्या अलल फलाह हय्या अलल फलाह अल्लाहु अकबर अल्लाहु अकबर ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह नाम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि सय्यिदना व नबीना
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذ قالت طائفة منهم لم تعظون قوما الله مهلكهم أو معذبهم عذابا شديدا قالوا معذرة إلى ربكم ولعلهم يتقون. صدق الله العظيم. I often have these questions from people that how do we deal with our family members who are not so religious and practicing. When we sit with them, they taunt us, they make fun of us, saying that you're an extremist, or you feel that you're too religious, or that you have become a scholar, and all we are doing is just performing our salah and just trying to be a good Muslim, and they try to put us down. So how do we deal with them? Because at the end of the day, they're still our family. So we do meet occasionally, and we don't know how we should respond to them or how we should react and behave with them. And I'm sure that some of us over here may feel and have the same experience. So I thought of mentioning from the highlights of Quran al-Kareem some important aspects and points that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions and how we should respond to that. During the time of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, there were two groups of people just the way how we have today. One group was a group which were practicing. The other group were not so efficient, they weren't so practicing. You can call them the liberal Muslims of that time. And remember, as the Mufassirin rahmatullahi alayhi, they mentioned that as far as Muslims are concerned, the word Muslim did not just exist from the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. In fact, Ibn Kathir rahmatullahi alayhi mentions this point in his tafsir, that Muslims were there from the time of Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. The ones who followed the Prophet of that time and believed in monotheism, the oneness of Allah, they were the Muslims of that time. So the same pattern would continue from Adam alayhi salam to Nuh alayhi salam to Salih alayhi salam to Yusuf and Yaqub alayhi salam, coming down to Musa and Isa alayhi salatu wasalam as well. So those during the time of that particular prophet who accepted that prophet as the prophet of Allah and they believed in the oneness of Allah, they were the Muslims of that time. So during the time of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, those who believed in Musa alayhi salam and believed in Allah, they were the Muslims of that time. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions in this particular verse, وَإِذْ قَالَتْ طَائِفَةٌ مِّنْهُمْ لِمَ تَعِظُونَ قَوْمًا اللَّهُ مُهْلِكُهُمْ أَوْ مُعَذِّبُهُمْ عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا. So there is that group of Muslims which are practicing, and there are the group of Muslims which are not practicing. And I want you to kind of put yourself in this position. First of all, ask yourself that where do I lie in these two groups? Really ask ourselves, do I consider myself as a practicing Muslim? Someone who is following the way, all of the rules and the ways of Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Or am I one of those that may do it sometimes and may leave it sometimes? That's not the discussion for today, but a question for us to think and ponder over. So the practicing Muslims, amongst them, there were also two groups. The ones who were practicing, they were advising those who weren't practicing. So you have these two groups, the ones who were practicing and the ones who weren't practicing. The third group is the ones who are also practicing, but they felt that there was no need to exert their energy on what? On trying to advise those who weren't practicing. So what they did was they went to the other group who were practicing and said to them, لِمَ تَعِذُونَ قَوْمًا اللَّهِ مُهْلِكُهُمْ أَوْ مُعَذِّبُهُمْ عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا. Why are you wasting your time? Why are you exhausting your energy? In what? لِمَ تَعِذُونَ. Wa'adh means to give nasiha, to give advice. And wa'adh is that type of nasiha advice. There's two words. One is wa'adh and one is nasiha. They both come in the same meaning, but the difference is wa'adh is that type of advice and where it penetrates into a person's heart. So it has an effect on them. So this group is telling the other practicing group that why are you spending your time trying to give advice to them, trying to change them, trying to make them think and ponder, because at the end of the day, they are so staunch, they're so hardcore. قَوْمًا اللَّهُ مُهْلِكُهُمْ أَوْ مُعَذِّبُهُمْ عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا. These are people who are destined to what? To get the punishment of Allah. Allah is just going to destroy them. قَوْمًا اللَّهُ مُهْلِكُهُمْ أَوْ مُعَذِّبُهُمْ عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا. Allah is going to give them a very severe punishment. So why are you wasting your time over them? What's the background of all this? Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, he was given the order by Allah that tell the Israelites, the Bani Israel, that on Saturday they were not allowed to fish, as we know it as the Sabbath. And subhanallah, Allah, to test them, what He would do was, He would on Saturday, to test them, He would have the fish jump out from the water. So it was even more difficult. So there was a group of people who were abiding, who listened, who followed the commandment, and they didn't do it, despite the fact of having it right in front of them. And the other days, the fish would be in their normal position and where they would have to work hard, sometimes spend hours fishing, and they may catch a few fish. But on Saturday, they would be leaping and jumping out of the water. So the other group, which was not so practicing, they continued fishing. So this is the scenario, and this is now the group of people who were practicing. They wanted to give advice to them. So don't do it. Because if you're going to continue doing this, Allah is going to punish you. And you don't want Allah to punish you. You want to think about your akhirah. You want to make sure you're a practicing believer, because His life is very temporary. So they kept on giving advice. So as they're giving advice to other group who were practicing, they're telling them that don't do it. Don't waste your time over them. Focus on yourself. They're not listening. So again, going back to the scenario which applies on us. Now, what should we do in that situation, and where we know of our own family members who are Muslim, but they're not practicing? Should we just put a blind eye towards them? Should we talk to them? Should we give them advice? Or should we just ignore them? The Quran is telling us that no, give them advice. قالوا معذرة إلى ربكم وَلَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَّقُونَ. Their response, the ones who are giving the advice to the ones who aren't practicing, their response to the other group of Muslims who were practicing but they weren't the ones giving advice, that look, at the end of the day, if we do give them advice and if we tell them to do something good, قَالُوا مَعْذِرَةً إِلَىٰ رَبِّكُمْ. We can use this as an excuse. We can use this as a foundation to present ourselves in front of Allah and say to Allah, oh Allah, I tried my best to give them wa'd and nasihah. I was also a messenger to try to tell them what is good and forbid them from what is evil. So قَالُوا مَعْذِرَةً إِلَىٰ رَبِّكُمْ. Maybe because of this, maybe my action may not be so good. My action may not be accepted. Maybe there's some type of deficiency or shortcoming in my salah or in my Quran or in my dhikr. There's something that may be missing. But maybe because of me giving advice to someone else and me spending that time trying to get others on board on what I believe in and I know what is right, and if they change because of me, because of that, even if they don't change, the fact of me spending time with them, the fact of them telling them, you know what, why don't you come to the masjid? Why don't you perform your salah? But do it as the word is telling us, wa'd. Wa'd means to, when you're giving advice to someone, do it in a way and where it's very gentle. In a very gentle manner. In a manner, subhanallah, Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was given the instructions to go and speak to Fir'aun, Allah knew that Fir'aun would not accept. Allah knew that Fir'aun would not accept. But he still sent Musa alayhi salam. Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, he pleaded to Allah, oh Allah, I'm by myself, I don't have anyone. Please help me by sending my brother Harun. Harun alayhi salatu wasalam accompanied him. He was also a prophet. They both go, and the only advice that Allah gives Musa alayhi salam is that when you speak to Fir'aun, when you speak to him, قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا, speak to him in a very gentle manner. Speak to him in a gentle manner. Because if we're harsh, if it's adults or even kids, instead of having a positive, it will have a negative effect. Instead of them coming, they will go away. And this is an advice that I give all the time, especially to parents, to their children. When parents come and say, my kid doesn't listen, I tell him to do this, he doesn't do it. I tell him to perform salah and I get upset with him. If we are going to get upset with our children, instead of them having love for that salah, they won't perform their salah. And if they do, they would only do it for your sake, not for the sake of Allah. They will do it out of your fear. You don't want them to perform salah because you're telling them. They should know the importance of that. And that importance will come when we are gentle with them. When we sit with them and make them understand. So anyways, going back to this scenario, مهلكهم أو معذبهم عذابا شديدا قالوا معذرة إلى ربكم ولعلهم يتقون. So we can present this case in front of Allah. Oh Allah, I spent time giving them advice. And at the same time, like I said, if some of them do listen, do accept, then what will happen? What will happen is, inshallah, all of the good that they do because of us, all of that reward, they will get it. But equivalent amount of reward will be transferred into our account. That's why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says in the hadith, Man dalla ala al-khayr kafa'ilihi. The one who tells others to do good, he will get the equivalent amount of reward as if he has done that good. If you sit in a gathering and you bring up the importance of reciting Quran, for example, and you tell people the reward of that, it could be your own family members or your friends, that you could say that today in Jummah I heard the Imam was saying that for each letter that is being recited of Quran, we get How many rewards? 10 rewards. Right? For each letter, that is equivalent to 10. And subhanAllah, I'll tell you something even more amazing, that some of the muhaddithin, they go to the extent that, and I mentioned this hadith a few days ago, لا أقول ألف لام ميم حرف ولكن ألف حرف ولام حرف وميم حرف. The Prophet ﷺ clarified, and he said that I don't say alif, lam, mim is one letter. Alif is separate, lam is separate, and mim is separate. Subhanallah, the muhaddithin, they commentate and they say that, according to some of them, they say that, look, if you analyze and if you even look closely to the letter alif, if you were to spell out alif, it spells out alif, lam, and fa. Alif. Lam also consists of 3 letters. If you were to break it out, lam, alif, and mim. Lam. Following? Mim also consists of 3 letters. Mim, ya, and mim. So to recite just alif, lam, mim, you're not getting 30. In fact, you're getting 90 rewards. Subhanallah, just for reciting alif, lam, mim. So now, if you go and you tell this to your friends, and you share this, and now a person who wasn't really reciting Quran much, he didn't really have a strong attachment with Quran, say, you know what, I'm going to get so much reward, let me start off by reciting 1 page of Quran. And then he continues reciting, and he continues reciting, and he continues reciting until he dies, and he recites so much. Subhanallah, he will get all of that reward. But when you die and we are presented in front of Allah, we will be presented as if we have recited all of that Quran, because all of that reward will be also in our account as well. And that is just for one person. That is just for one person. And if we were to do this for so many others, subhanallah, all of that reward will be coming into our account, even though we may not be doing as much. So one is enjoying good, and one is forbidding evil. Amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. Both go hand in hand. So one is telling someone to do good, but at the same time, if you see something, if you see someone doing something that they shouldn't be, it could be your friends, your family members, a Muslim brother, you know that they shouldn't be doing this, again, in a very gentle, nice manner, you try to make them not do it, prevent them from doing it, stop them from doing it, and if they stop because of us, we will, subhanallah, we will get the reward for that as well. So one of the scholars, he was questioned that if I tell someone to do good, make them do good, and they start doing the good, we know that all of that reward will be put into our account. But if I stop someone from doing good, he will stop. I'm just going to get the reward for just stopping him. But now what? I'm not going to get a continuous reward? Subhanallah, the scholar, he replied, and he said that the person who stopped, remember, he would stop doing the wrong that he did, but every time he thinks of doing that, every time he even thinks of doing that wrong and he doesn't do it, you will get the reward for that too. Subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy is endless. His treasure is infinite. It really comes down to us and where we look for these opportunities of getting this reward. So again, in short, the answer to all of that is, no, we continue to give them advice, but the advice should be done in a very subtle, in a very gentle, in a very, very nice, in a very kind manner. And if inshallah we do it, we'll get the reward even if they don't practice. Do it with the intention that we are the messengers of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We have a responsibility on our shoulder, and that is to let people know, spread the good. Don't just keep it for yourself. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really use all of us to spread the deen of Allah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first of all, make us practicing and good Muslims, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability of being examples for others. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. If I can request inshallah everyone to please stand up and try to fill in and squeeze in as much as possible. جزاكم الله خير. Just a couple of quick announcements that alhamdulillah, all of our summer camps have all been ready to go, inshallah, and you can now register. If you look on the back wall, alhamdulillah, we put all of them up. They're on the screen as well, so you can register your kids for all the different summer camps. We have 3 summer camps so far this summer. Inshallah, hopefully we're planning to have 1 more. So according to whatever fits you and your child, inshallah, and where they can benefit, enroll them for that summer camp, inshallah. Secondly, tonight we have a girls' halaqah that we do on a bi-weekly basis. So inshallah, today at 6 o'clock, we'll be having the girls' halaqah for girls 13 to, if you look at the screen, 13 to 18, inshallah, 6 to 8, inshallah. And lastly, tomorrow, Saturday, we have a sisters program from 3 o'clock, inshallah, at the masjid. So, inshallah, it's a free, there's no registration required. You can just, inshallah, please just bring your wives or your sisters or your mothers, inshallah, for that program. And lastly, we had a brother in our community, very long-term brother who was in our community for the longest time. His wife passed away 2 days ago. We ask that you make dua for him, for her, inshallah. Allah grant her the highest abode in Jannah. And subhanallah, as his wife passed away, the next day he got the news that his older brother also passed away. So subhanallah, again, may Allah make it easy for the family members, give them sabr, inshallah, and grant the deceased Jannatul Firdaus.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala al-falah, Hayya ala al-falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. ونشهد أن سيدنا وحبيبنا ونبينا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله تبارك وتعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. أما بعد، فعباد الله اتقوا الله حق تقاته واعلموا أن نجاح العالم في اتباع دين الله وملة رسول صلى الله عليه وسلم. وإن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم. يقول الله جل وعلا في القرآن المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا. صدق الله العظيم. نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. أما بعد، فعباد الله اعلموا أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: من صلى علي واحدة صلى الله عليه عشرا. وقال الله تعالى: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد، وعلى سائر الصحابة من المهاجرين والأنصار ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم واجعلنا منهم، واخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تجعلنا منهم ولا معهم. عباد الله رحمكم الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله العلي العظيم يذكركم وادعوه يستجيب لكم، ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. وأقيموا الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Please ensure your lines are straight and fill in the gaps. Heels on the line, please. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى. سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا. قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة أفلا ينظرون إلى الإبل كيف خلقت وإلى السماء كيف رفعت وإلى الجبال كيف نصبت وإلى الأرض كيف سطحت فذكر إنما أنت مذكر لست عليهم بمسيطر إلا من تولى وكفر فيعذبه الله العذاب الأكبر إن إلينا إيابهم ثم إن علينا حسابهم الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله استغفر